Well, when they boo Renegade, you know it's bad. It is almost a final at Acrisure, and the chants of Fire Mike Tomlin are about to take a serious ramp up. Good evening, Steeler Nation. This is Steel City Sunday live postgame show from the North Park Lounge, Richland Hilltop Event Center, where Naughty and Nice is underway. 6 magical Christmas rooms, a naughty bar for the adults, great time for the kids and families. Come on up, because you sure aren't going to be celebrating Steelers football. They are going to drop to 6-6. What a disaster. First half, not so bad, but it wasn't great. First play of the second half set the tone, and we are in Armageddon mode at this point in time. We'll bring Jerry DePaula on and John Fedko in just a few moments. I want to rant here for just a minute. Here's the bottom line. They're going to go to Baltimore and play another depleted football team that is banged up. Their star quarterback not looking great. The team they played today was missing both their starting tackles, ladies and gentlemen. Both their starting tackles. They gave up, the Steelers defense, the $170 million Steelers defense. Are you ready for this? They gave up on the ground today 249 yards to the Buffalo Bills, who set a record for the most rushing yards by an opponent in the stadium's history. Building's been around 24 seasons, worst rushing performance given up by a Steelers defense in the Building's history. That's how bad it was today. Aaron Rodgers got hurt briefly, was out. Mason Rudolph promptly came in and threw an interception. The Bills turned turnovers into points. And in the end, your final score, Bills 26, Steelers 7. And right before I bring on John and Jerry, 2 things I want to talk about real briefly here. I talked about time of possession with Paul Zeiss in the first hour of the pregame show. I said we have to be behind on that, and sure enough, Paul looked it up, about 32-27. Would you like to take a guess at the time of possession today? 41 minutes and 59 seconds to the Buffalo Bills, 18 minutes and 1 second to the Steelers. They're going to go into Baltimore next week. They're going to perform like they have the last few weeks. They're going to lose, and this is where Art Rooney II has to really start thinking about the conversation at the end of the season, because Mike's going to coach through the end of the year. He's going to coach through the end of the year. This team will not make the playoffs. This team will be sub 500, and Art Rooney is going to have a talk with Mike about his future, because it cannot be here. They cannot continue with Mike Tomlin as their head coach after this season is done. He's lost the plot. It's completely gone from him. And I know he wants to be the all-time winningest coach in Steelers history. I know that's a record he would love to put on his resume. But after what we saw today, what they did last week, one thing, this defense has been horrific. Horrific all season long. And it's Mike Tomlin's fault. He is the director of football operations. He is the man in charge of everything. And he is going to have to own this at some point in time. And Art Rooney, after 5 more games, will have an answer as to where things go. They could turn it around. I don't expect it. With that being said, let's bring on Jerry DePaula. Let's bring on John Fedko as they join us every single week for our post-game show. There is Jerry DePaula, and there's John Fedko. I'm going to start with you, Jerry. It's your camera, John. It's your camera.
It's not my camera.
I'm telling you, it's not us. You're upside down now. There you go. There you go. All right. Okay.
How you doing, John Fedko?
I'm doing awesome, man. It's Christmas time. I love it. Look at the tree behind Jerry. That is very festive, Jerry. I should have a tree behind me. Way to go.
All right, John.
Yesterday with the grandkids.
I would normally start with John, but I'm going to give Jerry the opportunity to go first. Jerry, your thoughts.
Well, one of the first thing I thought of was that they lost the game, and it was a pathetic performance in the second half. The Steelers defense is bad. The Steelers offense is bad. I would think that the season was almost over, but look at the standings. They're tied for first place right now, right, John?
Yes.
They'll probably lose to Baltimore next week, but at this point in time, there's still hope that they could. But if they continue to play like they're playing now, there's no hope. I think Rodgers looked like an old man today. He wasn't moving around, getting out of the way of the pass rush. The running game was okay, but they never give it a chance to get started. Maybe they couldn't because they were behind for most of the game. But it was pathetic. It's not Steeler football. It's the most rushing yards ever given up by an opponent at Acrisure Stadium, and they did most in 50 years anywhere in any stadium by an opponent in a home game. So I don't know, John. People are going to talk about firing Mike Tomlin, fire the staff, fire everybody. There's probably more to it than that. I mean, if you fire Mike Tomlin, okay, you got to find another coach right away, and that's what Art Rooney's afraid of. I don't know what Art Rooney's thinking either. I mean, people are going to chant fire Mike Tomlin. That doesn't mean he's going to listen.
Well, the division is absolutely pathetic. This is one of the worst divisional races in the history of the Steelers. I mean, you're talking about 4 bad football teams. And incredibly, Cincinnati could win this division. Incredibly, they could. That's not like some crazy prediction. They could win the division after that huge win over Baltimore, which, by the way, my sons bet the Bengals. So maybe we should put them on the post-game show because they told me the Bengals were going to win that game against Baltimore, and they did. But listen.
I heard a guy on the radio the other day say that Joe Burrow is going to be the NFL MVP this year.
I mean, they beat him, and they beat him badly. Cincinnati.
Maybe the AFC Central.
And of course, the Shedeur Sanders circus took another turn today. He was terrible. They lost to San Francisco in a pathetic performance. That they are a complete joke. And Sanders is a complete joke, and their quarterbacking situation is a complete joke. So if you think it's bad here, watch the Cleveland Browns for a couple minutes. But let's talk about Mike Tomlin because it's a serious subject, and a lot of people, including me, sometimes we exaggerate about Tomlin and everything. And then I appreciate John's rant about firing Tomlin because when you look at the history behind today's ultra pathetic performance on defense. I'm an old man, Jerry, as you are. I don't think John's as old as us, but I remember like yesterday, 1975. And I remember that Steelers game. It was in September. And you know who was playing for the Buffalo Bills in that game when they did rack up 300 yards rushing against the Steelers. That's the last time the Steelers gave up a rushing performance like this on defense was 1975. But let me tell you about that game because I saw it. And as an old man, you remember stuff like that like yesterday. They were playing the juice. They were playing O.J. Simpson. And O.J. Simpson went off on like an 80-yard run. He had 227 yards, I believe. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, from a man who remembers that game like yesterday. James Cook is no O.J. Simpson, okay? O.J. Simpson was one of the all-time great running backs, despite what he did, despite all the drama with his ex-wives or whatever. He was one of the all-time great running backs. So when you talk about what they did to the Steel Curtain, well, guess what? It was the juice. James Cook, who no one even heard of a few years ago. I mean, if you call us football fan, you do. But James Cook is the guy who did this to them today. And let me tell you something. This was a disgrace. This defensive performance was an absolute disgrace. When you talk about worst defensive performances in 50 years, you can seriously talk about Mike Tomlin needs to go.
And I just, for the record, I'm not saying fire him. What I'm saying is, if they end up 8-9, whatever, losing record, no playoffs, no division title, I think that Art needs to go to him and say, how do we work something out? Let's find a team that we can trade you to because you can't stay. He can't stay here.
What if there's no team that wants him, John? There may not be a team that wants him.
I can assure you right now, if there are 8 openings, 7, 8 openings, I don't care how many there are, I can assure you one team will be willing to make a deal for Mike Tomlin.
Rooney says, I don't want to be traded. Fire me.
Listen, and then you got if you're Art, you got to do so. Go ahead, John Fedko.
Art Rooney's a joke, and we're going to see it. And I'll believe it when I see it. And they're not going to fire Mike Tomlin because Art Rooney's the problem. And by the way, finally, people, including the media, is waking up to that this year. He is a terrible owner. He is as bad. Now I'm going to say that, but he's almost as bad as the Pirates because I don't believe he really, really deep in his heart cares about winning. Because if he did, he would have fired Tomlin years ago. I don't think he's going to fire Tomlin. I don't care what happens.
He does care about winning. He does care about winning. That's unfair. I think he's not firing Tomlin.
He cares about making money, which he's making.
He cares about stability.
Hands over foot. That's what he cares about, making money.
But I think he cares, more than you think.
He's nothing like he's nothing like the guys before him. And I'm not saying the Chief was any good because he wasn't, but the 2 guys after him were. And now they got a disaster running that team, and you're seeing the fruits of that. This was an utter disgrace. This defensive performance. When you start talking about the last time this happened was 50 years ago, you got to look beyond Mike Tomlin and look at the ownership. That game was painful to watch. Painful.
How about the A-gap belly dive on 4th and 2? You know what I mean? Like, why?
Well,
it's just one example of just being locked into this tunnel vision in certain scenarios where, and Art Smith's not the only offensive coordinator that's done this. They all do it. They all think A-gap on 4th and short with a running back 5 yards behind the line's the way to go, and it never is. It never is. It's just a microcosm of how bad things are under the guy in charge of everything.
I want to Jerry really made a great point at the top, and I need Jerry can talk more about Aaron Rodgers' performance, which was pathetic. And I don't know if you blame Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is an old man, as Jerry mentioned. And when I'm an old man and Jerry's an old man, but NFL's not made for old men.
42
it's a young man's game.
His birthday is Tuesday. It's 42.
It's a young man's game, and he's an old man who's got a really serious injury. And you saw the serious injury literally cost him the game. I'm not quite sure he fumbles that ball if he has a healthy wrist. Plus, he's having problems handing off the ball. He shouldn't have been starting this game. Maybe they have a shot with Mason Rudolph. Maybe not. But listen,
they would have lost anyway.
He was because their defense, but he was terrible. He's an old man. I stand by. I'm the only guy in the town that says I'll say it again. He's not a great leader, and he's gonna and he should not have been in this game. He looked okay for like one drive in the second half, and that was about it. And they had a game plan built around him not making a mistake. But there's trouble in River City all over the place, including at the quarterback position.
I think Rodgers understood he had to play in this game because he understands that Rudolph was not the answer. Rudolph proved that when he threw the triple coverage for the interception right after he came in. I think Rodgers figures they're paying me this money. This might be my last shot. I'm going to go out and play whether my wrist hurts or not. So you can't blame Rodgers, but his receivers can't get open, John. That's a big problem. The offensive line is very good. Receivers can't get open.
Something I want to bring up. DK Metcalf has to work harder to break free at the line of scrimmage. He's not doing it. He's getting pressed and he's just not fighting. I agree with you, Jerry. I said that in the first quarter. I watched a few of his plays. He's not fighting to get free and get loose. He's got to do that. He's the only one. I mean, they don't have Roman Wilson. I mean, what are we talking about here?
All the money he makes, you think he'd be able to get open more often?
There's no effort. I don't think there's much effort there. John Fedko, maybe you have another opinion.
Well, I mean, the big part of the Steelers' offense was their horrific rushing attack. 18 carries for 58 yards. Jalen Warren, 10 for 35. Kenneth Gainwell, 5 for 20. And, they did go to Darnell Washington for 2 plays almost back-to-back, and he's bowling over people, and that was it. That's all you saw out of him. Meanwhile,
Where's Pat Fryermuth? Why don't they throw him to Pat Fryermuth?
They pay him all that money. They treat him like he's a reserve player. It's baffling. It really is. You don't see Jonnu Smith out there. He was Art Smith's guy down in Atlanta for a period of time. It's befuddling. It's befuddling, and it all starts at the top with Mike Tomlin. It's Steel City Sunday post-game show live from the North Park Lounge, Richland Hilltop Event Center. We are also sponsored by Arch Masonry and Restoration. They've been with us since the beginning of the season. If you're a brick mason, block mason, concrete finisher, construction laborer looking for work at this time of year, call Arch 412-564-5733 or visit archmasonryinc.com. Back to John Fedko and Jerry DePaula. Back to this woeful offensive output. Go ahead, John. Yes.
I don't want the score to fool you. The final score was 26-7, but to me, this was more like a 58-0 game. And listen, the 2 turnovers happened, but if you take the 2 turnovers out of this game is insanely one-sided because the 1 turnover led to a short field and a touchdown, which was great. Okay, and the 1 fumble was like, what was that all about? Nobody even touched him, and he fumbled the ball. You take those 2 turnovers out of here, and John, you already mentioned the time of possession, and maybe people are joining us early, but mention it again. The time of possession was like insane. It was like the Buffalo Bills were playing, and the Steelers like showed up for offense on a couple of plays, and then out came the Buffalo offense again. The Bills, this is the definition of utter dominance. I don't care what the score says. It was utter dominance.
It was a shameful performance.
It was. I think it's a great.
I mean, I'm sure they were trying, and they were trying to do the best they can. But for some reason, this defense, they spent all this money on bringing all these guys in from other teams. This isn't coming together. And that's on Tomlin, and that's on the defensive staff to get these guys ready. You didn't see Peyton Wilson today. That reason for that is that he can't defend against the run. So they put somebody else in to defend against the run. They still give up 250 yards on the ground.
Jerry, it was like watching Avonworth play a much inferior team. I'm not kidding you. When the Avonworth says, okay, we're just going to hand it off to our running backs. You're not going to be able to stop us. They kept running the same play, and Cook kept counter. He would do a cutback, and the right side of the line be completely open. It's like you have no answer to that, Steelers. It's like it was constantly hand off to Cook, cutback, swing pass to Cook, cutback. It was like watching a varsity football team play a junior varsity football team. And it was like watching kind of like the Green Bay Packers of the 60s when they were just utterly dominated team physically. You know what's coming, power sweep, stop it. That's exactly what the Bills said. There was nothing tricky here. There was nothing, hey, we're going to throw you some triple reverses at you. We're just going to hand the ball off to Cook. He's going to make a couple cuts, and he's going to pick up 15 yards and carry. It was pathetic.
I think it really was. It was symbolic the way Josh Allen scored their last touchdown. He looked like he was stopped. But he just kept churning his legs and turning his body and moving forward with great effort, and he just bowled guys over and got into the end zone. That just shows you that I'm not saying the Steelers weren't trying. You can't really guess that in your head whether a team's trying or not. They're just not playing very well, and maybe the scheme is bad, maybe the talent is bad, probably both of those things.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen showed why he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league today.
The best, for my money, the best.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Jerry. I would agree that he's the best. And you saw him even, it was a simple game plan, but when he had to make perfect plays, he even made perfect plays on swing passes, just perfectly, guiding guys where they caught it in full stride. And that's an art. It's not as easy as you think. He is, and like you said, when he had to use his legs, and that's the thing about Allen, much like Patrick Mahomes, when he has to use his legs, he's unbelievable. Now, I know 2 guys pushed him into the end zone, but he, like you said, Jerry, he had to be moving his legs for those 2 guys to come from behind and give him the last 2 yards. That was a really sensational. Yeah, that was a sensational run
with a strong will. And the Steelers didn't play with a lot of will today. Once they got down, the defense once the game got out of hand. I don't want to say they gave up because that's not fair.
They didn't give up. They're just not good.
No, they're just not good.
Ain't good. And they're hurt. I mean, they have injuries. The Bills have injuries too. Like John mentioned at the top of the show, they were missing their
injuries. Aren't even a question here.
This is why we can talk about Mike Tomlin being fired. Because in 75, when we last saw a team dominate rushing, you had O.J. Simpson. I mean, just hand the ball off to O.J. Simpson. He had eyes in the back of his head. He was going 80 yards. On this Buffalo team, they had their 2 backup tackles, and they had some pretty good running backs, okay? Davis is okay. Cook's okay. I mean, Cook's really good. He's no O.J. Simpson. And they ran all over them. It was like running at will, especially on first down. You saw every single time Buffalo would get at least 6 yards on first down, sometimes 12, sometimes 18. We're talking about on first down. On first down, you know the run's coming.
But what did they do? What did they do to fix this? I mean,
they have to completely rebuild. I'm breaking in here now. We've got Mike Tomlin's post-game presser from Acusure. Let's bring in the coach and hear what he had to say about this disastrous loss. Yeah.
Needs to be said, man. That's an awful performance by us, but it's us. We didn't do a lot well tonight, obviously. We didn't possess the ball or maintain ball security on offense. We were highly penalized. We allowed those guys to run the ball. Didn't play 60 minutes of action, didn't play complimentary football. And so we got to absorb that result. We're certainly not going to feel sorry for ourselves. That's this business we're in. Had some injuries. Pat Queen had a contusion. He wasn't able to run. And so he wasn't allowed to come back into the game. James Pierre is in the concussion protocol. Questions?
Did you want to explain some of the second half issues you've had this season?
Not putting together 60 minutes of action. Certainly, they're tangible things, things that you and I both see, but
great job.
We better look at it hard, because it's usually something beneath the surface that's producing that, particularly in the consistency in which is occurring. That third quarter was awful. It was awful last week, and so we got to absorb the responsibility of that.
This is the third time you guys have led at halftime and then allowed another team to win. What do you guys as a coaching staff have to do better when other teams are adjusting to what you guys do?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. We didn't play a good half of football. We turned the ball over. It produced scores, and there's nothing mystical about that. It was really similar to last week.
Offensively, are you avoiding passing over the middle of the field? If not, how to explain so little production there?
It's just not enough production. We're not going to make excuses for it.
Why wasn't a package for Darnell Washington earlier and starting in the fourth quarter? And two, it seems the schematic for Coach Smith is not really beyond 10 yards because of passing. I know I'm a layman, but I'm interested in that.
All of those questions are reasonable given what we put out there. We got a lot of work in front of us.
The issues that were popping up in the run game, those stem from a lack of physicality, and how do you fix that at this point in the season?
I thought it just, was as it wore on, the attrition component of it became a factor. I'm not going to say too much tonight. I'll take a look at the tape, but certainly it was below the line and increasingly so.
How much did Derek Harmon's absence impact you stopping the run?
Whenever you're missing people, it's impactful. Certainly.
See the confidence that they do.
Keep watching.
58 yards rushing today. So what do you have to do to be effective game in and game out with running the ball?
We got to win possession downs. We got to maintain possession of it. We can't turn the ball over. It'll produce more snaps for us. If we do that, man, we'll probably have more than 58 or whatever it is that you mentioned.
You guys kept your safeties back more to stop the pass, and that worked early. But what did you guys need to do with the guys up front to stop the run?
We had an appropriate safety allocation relative to the run. We did.
Was the offense limited by Aaron's wrist?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't.
a number of games where other teams had backups in on the offensive line, and your defensive front hasn't seemed to be able to take advantage of that. Why do you think that is?
Good question. I don't have the answer to it. I know that, they weren't in a whole bunch of one-dimensional passing circumstances today, and that's usually where the backup game shows.
A game plan or personnel changes offensively?
I'm looking at everything.
Time of possession, isn't that critical for your defense to get a little rest in terms of that as well?
That's what I was talking about when I referred to the attrition component of it.
You guys making to counter teams that kind of commit to the run the way the Bills did. It seemed like a lot of the runs that you guys were running, you were running it into the teeth of them.
I'm sorry?
You guys counter when teams are doing a run cut, committing to stop the run the way the Bills did. It seemed like a lot of plays they were just charging forward.
Run it, pass it, man. We just weren't successful enough today, man, to sustain any type of ball control or produce enough points to be functional today, and that's just the reality of it.
Right, did you have a sense for how restless and frustrated the crowd was today?
I don't know how restless and frustrated I was, and so I assume they were in the same state we were in.
Did you have a couple of big splash plays against you early in the third quarter, still a lot of game ahead. Do you feel like you weren't able to find an emotional response to that in addition to the on-the-field stuff?
Forget the emotional response, man. We didn't produce plays, We didn't produce enough plays to put the fire out.
Couple more. What goes through your mind when the crowd or the crowd training to fire you in your home stadium?
Man, I share their frustration tonight, man. We didn't do enough, and that's just the reality of it.
Coach, AFC North is everything for you to win it is still in front of you. So what do you have to do to keep this team or to get this team going to win some games to possibly win the AFC?
I'm not big picture oriented tonight. I'm just talking about what we did or didn't, more importantly, did not do tonight. Certainly, we understand where we are and the opportunity that's in front of us from a divisional standpoint. But that, that's very secondary as we sit here tonight, man. We had a poor performance, and that's where our energy is and should be in terms of the analysis of this. All right.
And there you have it, Mike Tomlin's post-game comments after the 26-7 loss to the Buffalo Bills. This is Steel City Sunday, live North Park Lounge, Richland, Hilltop Event Center. About another 20 minutes or so with John Fedko and Jerry DePaula here. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the back and forth between Cam Hayward and Josh Allen. Obviously, we're going to have to wait for somebody in the locker room to get to them, post the comments. But, for Hayward, for what it's worth, defensively, I think there were three personal foul penalties on this defense today. Undisciplined, 5 penalties for 67 yards today. Jerry DePaula, what do you think? What do you think about the whole thing between Allen and Cam Hayward? What do you think that might have been?
I don't know what set off Hayward, but apparently he's frustrated by a lot of things that are going on with the team. And maybe right after that, Allen had a nice run. And maybe at the bottom of the pile, Allen said something or did something that he didn't like. But, Hayward, a few plays later, on an extra point, I think it was, he got in Allen's face. Maybe that's at a touchdown. The touchdown pass. He got in Allen's face.
Yeah.
What's that all about? At that point, all Allen did was throw a touchdown pass. Hayward maybe is angry at something that happened, 5 or 10 minutes previous. But I think a veteran like him, making all his money, he has to sit back and say, okay, they scored a touchdown. I'm getting off the field. I'm not going to do anything about it. We'll live to fight another day. And it wasn't very professional as far as I'm concerned.
John Fedko?
This is a pattern, Bill. John, we talk about this after every game. They have a personal foul problem. I mean, they it's okay maybe to have one a game, but they have multiple. Look at it. Every single game, they're having 3, 4, 5 personal fouls. And if you're the Oakland Raiders of the 70s, you can get away with that stuff. They ain't the Oakland Raiders of the 70s. They're a team that's in a horrific division that they should thank their lucky stars that they are in a horrific division. And like that last question, which was a very good one that reporter asked, they're still in it, man. They're still in first place. It's insanity in this division. And we're laughing, but this division's terrible. And Baltimore's terrible. They played a terrible game against Cincinnati. They can be had. That's where the Steelers are going next. And I know they got the Bears, which will be pretty tough, but they got Cleveland. That's a gimme. That game was a gimme for the Steelers. So it's not crazy. It is absolutely possible that the division winner of this division will be 500. It's absolutely possible.
Yeah, 8-9, 8-9.
Who wins? Who wins, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Who wins next Sunday? Who wins? You got two
Jeez.
The Steelers,
I guess it's a toss-up.
As pathetic as the Bengals were against the Bengals.
Listen, as much as I take shots of Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson's, hurting, I mean, Aaron Rodgers could win a game like that. I mean, Baltimore's defense is not as good as it's been. You saw what the Bengals did to them. They can be had. If Cincinnati can do that to them, that game can be won. I mean, this because of the patheticness of this division, this season is far from over. And you got the Cleveland Browns coming up. That's a gimme game. The Bears, are they for real? They're good. And they're in a very, very tough division, and they're not the best team in that division. So I don't know. Listen,
John, they can't score. Buffalo had one of the worst run defenses in the league, maybe the worst. And the Steelers couldn't run the ball with two pretty good running backs.
58 yards rushing, Jerry. And look, these stats are mind blowing. John, you started the show at the time of possession, which is the big story of this game.
41.
Listen to these last two drives by the Buffalo Bills. This is insanity. At the Steelers Stadium, 15 plays, 83 yards, 8 minutes and 14 seconds. And then the next drive, 14 plays, 72 yards, 9 minutes and 4 seconds. That's just complete domination.
Yeah, 41-59 on the time of possession, 18:01 for the Steelers. It is nuts. It's completely skewed in an insane manner. I want to top off on something that you said.
Yeah.
My stomach was getting nauseated watching you.
Jerry, you mentioned these teams are struggling and who's going to who can step up. I'll tell you right now, Derrick Henry. He's had a quiet season. He's at 931 yards, but in 3 of his last 4 games, he's run for 60, 64, and 75. I'm telling you right now, I don't care what Lamar Jackson's status is health-wise, Derrick Henry is going to have a field day next week. If I'm the Ravens, he's getting the ball 30, 35 times. I don't care what you're doing if you're John Harbaugh, who's also under a lot of pressure, by the way. His career has almost mirrored Mike Tomlin. He has not had much success with a MVP quarterback. 3 MVPs now for Lamar Jackson, and they can't get to a Super Bowl. Derrick Henry next week is going to be a big problem, and if there's any storyline going into the week, it's how many carries Henry's going to end up with and how many yards will he have at the end of the contest. Go ahead, Jerry DePaula.
Well, I think that Henry could dominate the game, and the Steelers on offense will have no answer for it. Even if they get maybe 2 touchdowns and it's 14-3 in the fourth quarter, the Steelers can't come back from even a 1 touchdown, a 1-score lead. The offense is just as bad as the defense, at least the way it looked today. And I don't know. I guess it could improve, but I don't see how. They don't have any receivers who can get open. Broderick Jones is out. Their offensive line is horrible. Frazier didn't play well today. The running backs were okay, but the receivers, throw to the tight end once in a while. Fryermuth, Smith, and then they don't use John's favorite player, Washington, enough. He's more of a blocker than anything else. I'm not the kind of guy that sits back and tries to second-guess coaches all the time, because coaches are with these players all week. They're in meetings, they're in practice. They know these players better than we do. But the results we're getting on Sunday makes me believe that somebody's missing something during the week.
John,
I think you've seen some separation now in the AFC after today's action. You've seen a couple of shocking developments that the Kansas City Chiefs are not one of the elite teams. So that's become clear. But what has also become clear is New England's an elite team, and I think Buffalo now, even though they lost a crazy game last week, I would say that was an aberration, and I would say what you saw today is the real Buffalo Bills. So this was, conversely to the Steelers being a pathetic performance, this was a real turning point, I think, for this Buffalo team. And so I think the division's pathetic that the Steelers are playing in, and it's a complete toss-up. I do still think that Jalen Warren's a good running back, and I think Gainwell's a good running back, and he has some nice runs today. Jerry, you mentioned Washington and Freiermuth. You got 2 tight ends who can catch the ball. Aaron Rodgers, I assume, is probably going to play in this game, against a team that's not as good as Buffalo. Maybe he has a better game, and maybe Warren and Gainwell have good games, and they get the ball to their tight ends, and I can see them winning in Baltimore. It is not a crazy thing to say. I mean, Cincinnati just beat them. Baltimore can be beaten. They can absolutely win that game.
Cincinnati can score,
We're going to be talking about them.
Cincinnati can score. The Steelers can't score.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, Gary, I right now, I think Cincinnati was going to win the division.
No?
I do. I think that they looked really good against Baltimore. That was a really impressive win by them. And if Burrow is in any shape, he has 2 great receivers.
Okay.
He's got an unbelievable offense. That team can put points on the board, baby, against anybody.
They
and
got
so
to
they're
win them
going to be
all.
tough to beat.
They can't lose one game. They got to win every game to win the division.
Well, but look who else is in the division. It's insanity. I mean, the only gimme for the Steelers is Cleveland. They may lose the rest of them. The Steelers may lose, and I know they got, their last 2 games aren't unbelievably tough. They got Detroit and they got Tampa Bay.
Tampa.
Yeah,
Cleveland, Miami.
And they got Miami, but I'm telling Miami can beat them.
Miami's on a roll right now. Yeah,
I don't think Cleveland can beat anybody right now. They got their gimme against Vegas. They ain't going to get it. Vegas is beyond pathetic.
Yeah, they're
going to
beyond
get one
bad.
of those again. But the only gimme is Cleveland. I really think the Steelers could lose the rest of the games other than that. But in this crazy division, they can beat Baltimore, and they're going to beat Cleveland, and they can beat the Bungles. I mean, it's crazy.
Jerry, before I get to you, got a bunch of comments we want to get to. As you can imagine, they're all angry. Robin Simmons says, "Fire Mike Tomlin."
Oh, there's a new idea. Never done that before.
Yeah, right. And the coordinators while you're at it, she says.
Everybody, get them all
fire
out.
everybody. It's a fire sale. That's not going to happen, unfortunately, Robin. But we'll see how things play out here. We got Ethan is King 84 saying, realistically, would Tomlin fire Terrell Austin on Cyber Monday tomorrow? I don't know if are there any discount DCs out there in the Cyber Monday bin? Jerry DePaula. William Simpson says Steelers playbook isn't even high school level. That's a tough knock right there. Maybe Duke Johncourt can help them out, Jerry.
Hey, I'm sure he could. Duke's a smart guy.
Woodland Hills.
The good question is for Tomlin today. Why not throw over the middle?
Because they want to limit their exposure, but he doesn't want to live in their fears. It is time to get rid of Terrell Austin. Enough is enough. That'll all happen at the end of the season. Steel City Sunday post-game show rolling on. Jerry DePaula, the great John Fedko, Bill Aikens also on board. John Phillips is my name, and I host this show. I guess we're going to just at this point bring Billy in real quick for a quick question. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, that last comment, it said it's time to get rid of Terrell Austin. Enough is enough. Well, last time I checked, Mike Tomlin runs the defense. So essentially you're getting rid of a figurehead. So what does that accomplish?
Good point, Bill.
I'm
looking at their schedule here, and I can absolutely see them going 1-4. The only team that's a gimme is Cleveland, but they absolutely could lose to Baltimore. They absolutely could lose to Miami, and I know that game's here, and it's a Monday night game, but that's a game Miami's not playing bad right now, and they got Detroit and Baltimore again. I can see the Steelers go 1-4. Now they go 1-4, and all those people out there that want Tomlin fired, they go 1-4, and I think there's like a 25% chance they do fire Tomlin.
What record
they
would
go 1-4.
What record would the Steelers have to finish at for Art Rooney to sit down and say Mike Tomlin is gone?
I think they'd have to go 1-4 in the last 5 games, and I just mentioned it's possible.
7-10, then, right?
Yeah, I think it's possible to go 1-4, and it's not a crazy.
But you think he'd do that at 7-10?
I think he could.
Not sure he would.
I don't either. I wouldn't bet against that. There's a 75% chance. In my opinion, Gary, there's a 75% chance he'd keep him. But if he goes 1-4 in his next 5 games, which is possible, there's a 25% chance he would fire Tomlin. 25. But I would not bet on it. I would not bet on him firing him. Because remember, Cowher got 3 really bad years. He got some really bad years in the late 90s. He got the benefit of the doubt. That's some really bad years.
Instead.
But he made the playoffs, and he won playoff games, and he took them to how many championship games? You know what I mean? Like, I hear what you're saying. He did have losing seasons, but the guy, I forget how long was Cowher here, Jerry? 15 years? 16 years.
Cowher started in 92. And listen, he had been in the Super Bowl, but he couldn't win the big one. He lost the Super Bowl to the Cowboys. Then he kept losing AFC Championship games, at home painfully to Denver. And then he had the wheels fell off the bus, and they stayed with it. That's why I think if Tomlin goes 1-4, I just mentioned, I think there's a real possibility they can go 1-4 the next 5 games. I don't think he'll get fired. I don't. I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't bet on him getting fired. No. I would say if they go 1-4 in the next 5 games, he will not be fired.
They might sit down and say, okay, Mike, maybe we don't want you to coach anymore, but let's make it good on you. And say you're going to resign or retire.
Yeah, and they would do what they did with Cowher. They'd make him make an offensive or defensive coordinator move. They say you got to get rid of your coordinators.
Well, they've done that before and it hasn't worked. I mean,
but that's what they would do. They wouldn't get rid of Conlon, but they would nuke their coordinators. They'd start doing that.
What they might do is say, okay, Mike, you've been a good soldier all these years. You won a Super Bowl for us. We're not going to fire you, but I think we should sit down and have a news conference and say you're going to retire. You're going to resign.
Retire, resign, or find a team that they can trade him to. I'm telling you, somebody is out there that will take Mike Tomlin. They'll give him a crack. I'm telling you right now, the last thing I want to see is him be fired. I would much rather see them try to get something for this man, okay? And out of duty, he should have a responsibility to listen to Art if Art asks him that. Meanwhile, you got people on YouTube, the 4-team music group, asking, who do you get if you fire Mike Tomlin? Pick a hot offensive coordinator. Pick somebody offensive-minded. And Brady? Fine. I don't. Who else?
What was offensive coordinator?
I'm trying to remember his name now. There's a bunch of them out there that you can look at. There's plenty of people for the Steelers to look at as potential candidates. I'm not worried about that. Question annoys me to no end. There's always somebody you can talk to. There's always somebody who's hot and up and coming. Pick somebody from Detroit. Pick somebody from a team that's moving the ball offensively. Look at a coordinator, an offensive coordinator. Bring people in. Bring 5, 6, 7, 8 people in. You can easily find 8 or 10 people that would be deserving of at least an interview and could potentially make changes in your organization that are completely different from what you've had going on right now. Jerry DePaula, go ahead.
Man, what I'd love to be in a meeting tomorrow morning when Mike Tomlin and Art Rooney sit down and they have a discussion. I'd love to hear what Art says to Mike after a performance like this with the doors closed with nobody else around. Does he admonish him? Does he yell at him? Does he tell him you got to make changes? Dan Rooney might have been rougher on Tomlin at this point than his son Art is going to be.
John Fedko, go ahead, sir.
I think nothing's going to happen. If I were to predict what Art Rooney's going to do the second, he's going to do nothing. He's not going to even say anything to Tomlin. And I think that Mike Tomlin, he's not going 0-5, but I can see 1-4. If he goes 1-4 and they end up 7-10, they will not fire Mike Tomlin. Not Art Rooney. He won't do it.
I agree. The legacy of his family name and the Rooney Rule itself will not allow him to. He will not do it. There's no way.
Won't do it.
No way he's firing him.
Down and say, Mike, we're going to put in a news conference out, put in a news release out to say you're resigning. That way, it won't look so bad.
Yeah, something to that effect, maybe. Yes, I agree with that, but he's not going to fire him.
Or trade him. You're John Phillips. That's a good point.
Absolutely. If I'm Art II, I'm sitting here trying to reason with him and say, hey, look, you still want to coach. Somebody out there is probably going to want to hire you. Help us. We help you. You get a clean, fresh start somewhere else, and we get a chance to go in a different direction, not the one that you've been taking us in. Final thoughts, John Fedko, before we wrap this up.
I think let's end it on a positive note for anybody that loves the Steelers. The division is absolutely horrific. Again, I'll say it again, and I've been watching, Steeler football since 1987 for a living, even back in those terrible late 80s years. This division is maybe the worst I've ever seen. This is a horrific division race the Steelers are in, which means incredibly they can still win it. Seriously,
they can't win it. They can't win a terrible division. Shame on them.
And they can. They can win this division. They can do it. They're going to beat Cleveland. They've got to beat Baltimore twice. You saw what Cincinnati did to them. And Cincinnati's going to help them because Cincinnati's better now. They can win the division. and the division winner seriously could be 8-9. Really could be. The division winner could be 8-9. Come back down to a tiebreaker.
I don't disagree with you, John.
And the tiebreaker may be that, beat Baltimore twice, which is absolutely possible.
I don't disagree with you, John, but I can't disagree with that. We should say something and it gets me excited. Let me start arguing with you, but I have to agree with you there.
Bill, anything quickly?
Well, we got a comment from the 4 music group. It says, how do you feel, or how do you let Brian Flores walk but keep Terrell Austin? So dumb. I can answer that. Mike Tomlin wants to be the smartest guy in the room. Hence, he has no coaching tree. So
that's a good point. His coaching tree is really bad.
Yeah,
it's non-existent.
Really
yeah,
it's non-existent. He has nobody.
Yeah. It's a telephone pole. It's no branches. It's a telephone pole.
You can count Bruce Arians, I suppose. But Bruce was here before.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only one.
They forced him out.
And they did force him out. That's absolutely right. Last comment for you, Jerry DePaula, and then I'm going to get you 2 on your way.
Well, you know what? It's a tie for first place with 5 games to go. If you've not seen any of these games up until this game, and you see the Steelers and Ravens are tied for first place, and now they're playing next Sunday in Baltimore, you get pretty excited about that. Get a chance to move back into first place. But after what we've seen, you can't expect the Steelers to put up much of a fight, even against a team like Baltimore that was playing pretty well, John Fedko, before the Cincinnati game. That was a bad game. And if Jackson gets his stuff together, I think that Baltimore can win that game next Sunday pretty easily.
All right, well, we got 5 weeks left to go. That is an eternity in the National Football League. This division's pathetic. And again, the division winner may be 8-9. The Steelers could still win the division despite how pathetic they are. They still have Aaron Rodgers. They still have 2 good running backs in Warren and Gainwell. They have a good quarterback in it, and they could pull off a miracle finish maybe in one of these games. They can win the division at 8-9. Now, obviously, the division games are critical. So the 2 Baltimore games, sweep the 2 Baltimore games, which is a real possibility, and you're in the driver's seat in the division.
The best news is I have 5 more post games with John and John. That's the best news tonight.
Yeah, and maybe a playoff one when they're 8-9, they win the division.
Maybe a 6th one. Who knows?
Please.
It's possible.
Spare
it's
us.
The worst division ever.
Spare us that. I am begging all of you and humanity to spare us of a Steelers playoff game because I know how bad it's going to end. All right, gentlemen, you are absolutely the best. I love both of you for coming on every week. John Fedko, Jerry DePaula.
Voice of reason, Jerry DePaula. Voice of reason.
John, have a good week. My pleasure.
Go Lopes! Go Lopes! Win the state title. Win the state title. We got to be rooting for the Lopes in Central Catholic. We need our local guys to win a state.
Don't forget Clareton.
Clareton. City of prayer.
Right. See you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, John Fedko, Jerry DePaula. I need a few more minutes just to deconstruct all of this. I'm beside myself. Because, the writing was on the wall just a few weeks ago. And again, as I said, I don't think I've had a prediction right in 8-9 weeks now. Every time I say the Steelers are going to win, they lose. Every time I say they're going to lose, they win. Truth is, I didn't feel great about today's game. I thought if their running game can match what they did last week, they got a chance. I thought that being at home, the big question mark obviously was Aaron Rodgers. And clearly his injury is hurting him, and he can't perform. He's not capable of throwing the football like he was at the beginning of the season before the injury. Take out the Chargers Sunday night debacle. This team is a disaster. They're a disaster, and it is a typical Mike Tomlin performance. Somebody, I don't know who in that organization, maybe it's the minority ownership, somebody has to get to Art Rooney if they haven't, and they have to start figuring out an exit strategy with Mike Tomlin. He cannot coach past this year. They could go on to win the last 5 games and win the division and win playoff games, and who knows? The odds of that are less than 20%. Bill, you've got some comments or a thought on that? Please join me for a moment or two. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, everything has an expiration date, right?
Right.
Especially in the NFL. And his whole philosophy, it's went stale. Okay, we're past that point at this point. I mean, we heard it. Listen to his post game press conference. I mean, he doesn't have any. There's nothing really. There's nothing that he really adds to. There's no explanation for it. I mean, it's just all word salad at this point. So it's just. I don't know. I think really he's almost given up as well. And I've heard people say there's maybe some as of late there's some insecurity in the way he coaches, and I would have to agree with that. I mean, just by virtue of what we're seeing on the football field. Geez. So, like I said, people are saying fire Tara Austin. Hey, I'm fine with doing that. But I'm saying, ultimately, it's Mike Tomlin that runs this defense. We had a comment from Ethan is King. Bill, I was at the game in Chicago and saw Terrell Austin call every single defensive play. Really? You saw him call every single defensive play? Okay. I mean, again, it's Tomlin that runs this defense.
Right.
He runs the defense. Okay. Terrell Austin. You talk to anybody, he is a figurehead. Period. Point blank. Okay. He can call every single defensive play. I don't care. He's a figurehead. Ultimately, Mike Tomlin has to say so. Okay. Mike Tomlin has to say so. Say it with me. Mike Tomlin has to say so. So, I mean, it comes from the top, right? It comes from the top.
It does.
So, yeah, I mean, this is just, it's starting to sound Sunday after Sunday. It's starting to be like a broken record, right? We're saying the same things. We're seeing the same things, and nothing's changing. No adjustments are being made. And you can say that on both sides of the football. I mean, the offense is atrocious too. I mean, lack of creativity. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, the playbook. I think the playbook's limited. I think it's just it's an ultra conservative offense, like conservative to the max. Like you couldn't be more conservative of an offense than what they have. And the defense is just they don't make adjustments, and their scheme sucks. Their schemes suck, game in and game out. They suck. And we got another comment. We all know Tomlin isn't getting fired. Yeah, I mean, he might. I mean, and he's probably going to get fired because, they got to hold somebody accountable, right? And they're not going to hold Tomlin accountable because, So, yeah, it's a shame, but Terrell Austin's probably going to get the axe at some point. I don't – do you think they're going to do it in the season, John? I think they wait till the end of the season. They're not going to fire him with 5 games left. I just don't see it.
Who? Austin? No. He's not. Everybody on this staff is staying until the end of the year. It's 80-20. They would have to be so egregiously bad next week where, it's another like 250 plus performance by this defense where Austin goes before the end of the season. But I anticipate he's going to be there by the end of the year. Again, this is where Art Rooney II has to look in the mirror at himself and say, I have to now put a plan in place after this season is done to get with Mike and really have some real talks. I'm sure they talk daily. I'm sure they talk every Monday extensively after every game.
I'll believe it when I see it, though. I'll believe it when I see it because, honestly, you hear – rumors, the rumor mill goes. You hear that, Art's not happy with the way the direction of the team. I don't know. I think it's fluff, if you ask me. I mean, okay, he's not happy with the direction of the team. He hasn't done anything about it. So, I mean, I don't. I mean, you can make that argument, but it doesn't really hold water to me. I mean, he's nothing's changing. Like we still see the same. We still see the same everything.
All right, this loss is on Terrell Austin, not Tomlin. That comes in from Nick.
Yeah, see, I disagree. It's on Tomlin and it's on Terrell Austin as well. I
Yeah,
disagree with that.
it's both. It's both. No question about it. I know Terrell has said it's my defense, but in the reality is it is Tomlin's defense. Terrell Austin should be fired. He has no business being a DC.
Yeah, Tomlin makes again. I can't stress this enough. I mean, Tomlin makes the final say in all the defensive. He and all the defensive decisions, schemes. Tomlin has the final say. So I don't, we can sit here and go round and round. Terrell Austin should be fired. He has no business. Okay, it's again, Tomlin is the one that has the final say in everything. So.
Absolutely, he does. Quick shout out to Arch Masonry and Restoration before we go. I want to mention them because they are a legacy sponsor. They've been with us since the beginning of this. Arch Masonry and Restoration. Folks, if you're in construction and you're sitting around going, man, we're not working again tomorrow, guess what? Arch Masonry is. If you're in the construction fields, if you're in brick masonry, block masonry, if you are somebody looking for work in construction here in the Pittsburgh area, Arch is hiring. 412-564-5733, archmasonryinc.com. Go check them out online, looking for block masons, brick masons, and if you have no experience, that's okay. Arch is looking for you. They have programs where they can train you on the job and get you into a building career trade, archmasonryinc.com. Okay, last seconds here. I'm watching some things unfold on social media. Beating the Bookie. I asked Beating the Bookie about the Sora application, and he does these TikToks and he does these little videos. He made one of Aaron Rodgers being washed. He had a little Aaron Rodgers doll. He throws it into the washing machine, and now there's like a fight breaking out over how Aaron Rodgers looks on this. Social media has some fun stuff to it. Then social media has like just this dark side. It's the weirdest thing in the world. All right, we will be back here next Sunday, probably a 9 a.m. start on the pregame show. We'll work this out. TJ Watt looks like interesting comments from TJ Watt coming in. I've never seen a team run the same play that much and have that kind of success. How about that comment from your $40 million edge rusher? How about that? This team is done.
Well, again, I think people are getting things misconstrued here. I am not saying to not fire Terrell Austin, okay? I agree. He sucks, okay? He sucks. But, and I see comments, Tomlin's not calling the plays on the sideline. It's the whole defensive scheme as a whole, okay? It sucks, okay? Tomlin owns it. He's the one that he's the one that makes like I said, he's the one that makes the final say on the defense. He was the one that makes the final say on how they scheme everything. Agreed. Terrell Austin's got to go. He's terrible. I agree. I'm not arguing that point. But I think people are failing to see that, you got to hold the person accountable at the very top as well. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
Okay, and that's fair. All right, we've done an hour. Probably could do 2, but that would be just abuse. So, want to thank everybody for participating in today's show. Actually, we had a nice little post-game reaction. Looks like we've decent group of people watching. Thank you very much. The post-games are tougher. A lot of people are busy. Pre-game shows are where we do really do our best work. But I think our post-game show every week with Jerry and John is, if not entertaining, lively, and I think they do a good job of breaking things down. For my executive producer and co-host Bill Akins, I'm John Phillips. Stay tuned. This week we will have live shows. We will have Wednesday and Thursday. We will have the Pittsburgh Sports Desk on Wednesday, Gridiron
Weekly.
Gridiron Weekly on Thursday. I may actually pop on Tuesday and do an hour or two myself. We might cover all kinds of sports. I'm not really sure just yet. I know we are a Steelers-centric type of format, but we are trying to add more programming, and live programming is our niche. We are not podcasters. I'm not a podcaster, at least. I don't feel that anything podcast-wise I'm going to do is going to be nearly as exciting as a live broadcast. That's just where I've been my entire life. We're doing live, and we'll be offering up more content and programming starting in the month of December. So we're excited to say that. Hopefully on Tuesday, we'll have an announcement tomorrow on programming for the week. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Sunday if you can. Steelers now 6-6, out of the playoff chase for now. But the big showdown Sunday in Baltimore looms as we are now T-minus less than 7 days away. For the entire cast and crew, I'm John Phillips saying good night from North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. Once again, the final score, Buffalo 26, Pittsburgh 7. Thanks for joining us here on Steel City Sunday.